Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott McKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
Hi there. Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast. This platform, the Industrial Talk platform, is dedicated to you, the women and men of manufacturing, the women and men of industry, the women and men who get things done. You are bold. You are brave. You dare greatly. You innovate. And you're changing lives around the world. That is why we celebrate you here on this particular podcast. Another good interview. Hitachi Vantara is the company. His name is Sid Verma. But once again, you want to go find him out on his stat card out on LinkedIn, you're going to have to type his first name in, and that is Siddharth. Verma is Verma. Reach out to him. We're talking manufacturing. We're talking about, the ability to have that history of success, especially in this world of Industry 4.0. Yep, Sid brings definitely the truth bombs. Let's get a rolling. Yeah. What an honor. I mean, when we start talking about industry, talking about manufacturing, we start talking about all of the wonderful things that are taking place, especially and the conversations that people are having, companies, people are having as a result of whatever this new normal is. It's really exciting. It's an exciting time to be in the manufacturing space. It's an exciting time to be in industry. It's an exciting time to be able to, an opportunity to have great conversations with industry leaders like Sid and many of the individuals at Hitachi Vantara and talk about real solutions to real problems to create businesses, manufacturing industry business that are resilient, because we just got to recognize, I'll throw it out there. This might happen again. We don't want to. I'm not wishing that on anybody, but it could happen again, unfortunately. Why not today, right now, possibly yesterday, talk about deploy strategies that really ensure your business resiliency? Why not? Now is the time. Technology is there. You hear me talk about collaboration. I'm telling you right now, you want to collaborate with these people that are on the Industrial Talk podcast. They're out there. They want to talk to you. They are at the cutting edge of innovation, right? They are. And they definitely are committed to education. It always dazzles me to see individuals like Sid and others that they take, to a certain extent, there's a level of humility there. They take this stuff for granted. And for me, who's constantly sucking it up and saying, man, that's cool stuff, I am just always dazzled by how professionals, leaders within industry, leaders in manufacturing just constantly push the envelope. And it's all focused on solving problems, providing solutions, and doing it with a sense of speed and purpose. And so you got to love that. And so this conversation with Sid is just right on the money, and they're doing some incredible things. And we're talking, just so that we're on the same page, one of the things that I did point out to him, and I share it with you before we get into the interview, is that there's a lot of companies out there, a lot of companies talking about, IoT, talking about edge, talking about cloud, talking about everything that's all under the sun of Industry 4.0. It's out there. And I know that it's out there. And one of the questions that was always intriguing with me, how do I know who to trust, who to pull into my inner circle, my collaborative inner circle, to be able to have real meaningful conversations that make sense? Because you're looking at executives that have to make these decisions, and who are you going to pull in? You're going to have to at least find companies, find deliverers of services that you can trust. Sid is right there. Hitachi Vantara is right there. All right, let's get on with the interview. Again, when you reach out to him, because you need to, right? You need to. Sid, he goes by Sid Verma, but remember, write this down. Siddharth Verma. You'll find him, and reach out to him. And I'll have all the contact information on industrialtalk.com on his, landing page that highlights him. So anyway, enjoy this conversation because and take notes because it's really important about what Sid is talking about and why it's important for you as an industrial and manufacturing professional. Enjoy. Hey, Sid, welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast. Absolute honor that you found time in your busy schedule to be on this particular podcast and share your insights and wisdom into manufacturing. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, Scott. How about you?
Hey, I'm doing well because I get to talk to you and we get to talk about manufacturing and we get to really be bold, brave, and dare greatly in our conversation, and we're going to change the world. Before we get into your interview, let's talk a little bit about who Sid is, a little background on who Sid is. I know that you come from Canada, and are you a Argonauts fan?
I am not. I am a Senators fan in Ottawa.
No way! Yeah, there you go. Okay, never mind. I've been getting into hockey. I haven't been a big hockey fan. But Senators, baby.
I did my master's. I didn't have much money that time, so the only thing that came on the TV was Senators.
That's Canada for you, because it doesn't come on down here. Well, you're in San Francisco, the Bay Area. You're not getting much hockey down there.
Oh no, not at all.
All right, give us a little background on who you are there, Sid.
Sure, Scott. I am right now the general manager of manufacturing for Hitachi Vantara, and I represent the global manufacturing business for Hitachi Limited. Earlier to joining Hitachi, I worked for Siemens as their global head of manufacturing in their newly minted IoT and consulting unit. I spent around 2 years at Siemens. Earlier than that, I was in Deloitte for 8 years, where I helped create their industrial IoT practice, helped run it, and it was an absolute honor at that time to make a business from scratch.
I'm telling you, and you talk about being a trailblazer. I mean, all of a sudden now everybody understands, and they're saying, it's IoT. Everybody understands digital transformation, or think they do, because pre-virus, everybody had sort of this plan, a 2, 5, whatever year plan to begin their digital journey. But then COVID hits, and all of a sudden, I need to speed my digital journey up relatively fast. Have you seen that on your side?
Exactly. I don't think that that's a journey anymore. It became a burning platform. It's like, if I don't do anything, my workers cannot go inside, my factory stops running. And just this whole idea of remote monitoring, being able to work safely using technology, that manufacturing never occurred to them. The whole idea was people going and working, and machines were there to support. It's kind of become the other way around.
Yeah, and it's interesting. And I think it's a beautiful, we talk about how, pre-pandemic, but when we start talking about COVID, there's the one side that there's a lot of pain. Yes, absolutely understand, challenging time. The other side is that it really took manufacturers and gave them the ability to truly hone in on what is important. And that's why that whole conversation of digital transformation really became, I have to hone in on it. I've got to figure out how to keep the wheels turning in my business. So it's important.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about that, okay? You're seeing, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're seeing a shift. Manufacturing, let's say macro level, manufacturers starting to look more and more at their digital journey, their digital transformation. Is that a correct statement?
I'll say yes. So from my point of view, everything has to run on a continuous innovation journey. Otherwise, you do not survive or do not stay in the business for a long time. Digital is basically the next normal now. And COVID has expedited the normal of 5 years to 6 months now. But from the time we have electrification to that is you needed to just do it to survive to now we have to do digital to survive. That is the core of the business. No longer individual machines and individual people work and optimize their performance. We have to do it collectively and be able to use some of the tools that humans cannot do while they're working to come from outside and then come help them. So that is kind of, for me, a natural phenomena. This is what you have to do. This is the evolution of manufacturing. The next step right now is digital.
And I like that. And I like that. It's not a sense of, it's just a fact that you, manufacturing, have to begin that digital journey today. In fact, yesterday, right? Yeah. And begin that and interact and collaborate with individuals like yourself, companies like Hitachi Vantara, to begin that thought process. Don't be in a position where I have not, I didn't do it, so I'm behind. No, now is the time. And I think you're spot on. And I like the statement, continuous innovation journey. Remember that, listeners, continuous. And that's not just with the digital journey. It's just your life. Continue, make that happen. Now, with that being said, Sid, people are people. Cultures are cultures. Internal, external, doesn't really matter. What are your roadblocks for getting people to say, yeah, I got it. I'm going to walk hand in hand with Sid and Hitachi Vantara. What are those roadblocks? What are those things?
So one of the things about digital that is key is we try to take like data out of steps and not do incremental improvement. So if you see the last 40 years of the Kaizen and Six Sigma was an incremental improvement, small steps.
Yeah.
What digital allows you to do is look at the process and do major improvement. And a major improvement is sometimes hard to fathom and imagine if you have always done the same thing. Because if you can do an inspection using a camera, using AI, you don't need 5 people. And you can do it at every step then rather than doing it at last step. And then you can kind of skip the whole scrap and everything else. But this is not like a simple improvement of fixing things. This is like a monumental change in which you do things. It's sometimes hard to take that leap of faith and also trust that it will work.
I'm telling you,
that is kind of
you're a heretic when you're talking about in manufacturing make a major improvement. Holy cow! But it can be done, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is what digital is doing. Like digital is actually letting you jump a couple of steps in the cycle of continuous improvement that we were used to.
But the journey. So once again, the resistance, the roadblock is culturally, I'm not comfortable with making major steps. Yeah. I'm comfortable with, let's say, my Kaizen and being able to make those incremental improvements and constantly work for, just continuously improve, right? And now we're coming in with this new Industry 4.0, whatever it might be, and it's everything under the sun, and it's going to solve all our problems. Major. And that is really, from a cultural perspective, uncomfortable for me.
Correct.
But how do you break into that and create comfort for a manufacturer to say?
Exactly. I mean, especially in the manufacturing sector, people like to know that you have done it before, because this is not like, imaginary stuff, correct? It's not marketing that you can say, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. You can fix it. Manufacturing, you have to fix and do it. So my clients and my company itself will like us to prove it beyond doubt that this is actually working. And we need to look at not only an MVP, which was a 3 or 4 years ago problem, like let's do an MVP and it'll solve everything.
I got to stop you right there. You're saying NV as in Victor P? What are you saying there?
We call it the minimum viable product.
Got it. Thank you. Minimum viable product, MVP. Yeah. Got it. Go. Continue. Sorry about that.
So when we started this journey on digital transformation, people say, let's try something. We will create a proof of concept. We'll make something that will show to the world that it works. And then last 2-3 years, it never went too far beyond an idea. People saw really good videos on LinkedIn, but you go back to a production line, it's still the same. It's like, what we have seen is we need to prove it beyond doubt that this thing works in all the integrate things that the manufacturer does in the job. And that is the comfort level we have to provide. We have to spend some time and energy in building those proof of concept, which actually solve the whole thing and repeatably sell the whole thing. So the manufacturer will tell us, you do it, I'll allow you, but you have to make sure it runs for 1 year. And my people are doing it. Not just like you have a good idea, you gave me a software and you walked away and nobody used it.
Yeah.
And one other layer that I wanted to bring forward is all that digital stuff happened at the enterprise software layer before, correct? You have the ERPs, you have the EAM.
EAM, yeah.
Upfront big planning, but on the floor, people were still welding, using machines, sewing. There was no transformation there, correct? Now the transformation is at that level.
See, and that's interesting. I had that sort of aha moment. I said, you had these enterprise systems that, whatever that time in our manufacturing life was like, everybody's doing this enterprise type of approach. Okay, it's going to solve all problems, and it didn't. It just created a big system and nothing to feed it. The only way of feeding it would be this a guy like me fat fingering this information in. Now with this whole IoT, IIoT, digital transformation, I've just been able to collect that data seamlessly. Now I've got to venture into the world of data analytics and figuring out what it's telling me, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, listeners, what I hear, what I heard Sid talk about, and this is real important, specifically here in this digital transformation journey, is a history of success, right? And you can demonstrate that, because that's where me as a manufacturer would get a little nervous, because I have my process, I've laid it out, I'm manufacturing whatever it is, I understand when that asset's going to go down, possibly, whatever it might be, I have a feel. Now you're asking me that I can put these solutions, digital solutions, within my process, and I lose control. And that's sort of that thought that I normally just touch that motor. Now you're telling me all I have to do is look at a screen and trust that data. That's a difficult challenge.
Yeah, I mean, compounded on this challenge has a lot of people have promised and companies have promised. And
bingo.
And nothing worked. That is the part of I was saying, correct? The proof of concept world, the startup world, good idea that worked in, let's say, telecom. Let's hope it works in manufacturing. Great idea. It looks like it's going to work. And we put it on the top of a motor and it didn't work and the motor blew. And sometimes people got hurt and product got destroyed.
Yes.
You are, as a manufacturer, you're going to give it a couple of tries. And then you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to give any more people a try.
I'll even give you one try. And if it fails, I'm kicking it over the bridge right off the bat. You're spot on. And I forgot about that. And I was going to ask you about it. If I had a nickel every time, Sid, that somebody came to me and said, we're IoT specialists, or I'm an AI person, or I'm an edge person, or I'm a cloud person, and I do all of this stuff and I link it all together, we wouldn't be talking. I'd be on a beach sipping Mai Tais, because everybody's out there and they're all talking about that. And if I do a search on my website, or on not my website, but out there, I'm going to pull up a gazillion hits on IoT. And You're right. It gets down to trust. I love it.
Yeah, and not everything can be transferable. A lot of the IoT came from the telecom, like Cisco's and the AT&Ts.
Yeah.
They did a lot of that, and they wanted to use that skill set only transferred a little bit. And then you needed a different level of expertise to bring it down to manufacturing versus healthcare and biotech. And that is where you need an expertise. One of the reasons my client says, why should I trust you versus somebody else? And the reason is we have to actually do and prove that to our own company in Hitachi. And same thing when I was in Siemens, same thing, the companies, industrial companies, like to spend a little bit more time. So we are usually behind the curve, but we have to prove it to ourselves before we go to tell the client that, hey, I actually can solve your motor problem. And it's not that glamorous, it's hard work, and it's rewarding once you finish it. But you have to do this every asset, every process at a time.
It is. And I think there is this silver bullet mindset to a certain extent where, hey, I bought that device. I've stuck it out on my motor. It should be resolving the problem ASAP. And I'm just trying to solve that problem. Yet there's a lot of intellectual and sweat equity that goes into that device being stuck on that motor, shall we say. And that's where the diamonds are, right? True value, true efficiency, and finding individuals, the human side, that can dig that stuff up and be able to make that stuff work and that information. Yeah. Now, with that said, where do you, I mean, it just seems like it's at a blistering pace, Sid. I mean, I can't keep up. I went last year when we were able to go to conferences. I was in Barcelona, IoT Solutions World Congress, or IoT Solutions. I can't remember how to talk that. Anyway, and it was just technology at this blistering pace. And when it's pre-virus, I was upset because I couldn't keep up with it. Now it's like everything is so fast and everything. Where do you see it going, Sid?
Yeah, I mean, even I have challenged keeping up.
I'm sorry to hear that, because if I am, holy cow, you're in it.
It is true. Like the new ideas are always there, and it takes time to challenge and test it out. But from what I have seen in this world is, we started with the big data thing. So what IT people have done from the big data, and be able to ingest and be able to do, like how you run your Google Maps and Facebook, like behind the scenes, there is a lot of analytics and AI going on. And what we in manufacturing said, hey, we can use some of it. We are quite behind, and we like to reproduce that. So what happened from the first generation was we started having an IoT platforms. Correct. You get the PTCs of the world, Clumosities of the world. But then platforms are horizontal or generic. Like somebody has to go solve a problem. And that is the next few years of doing POCs or proof of concepts and MVPs, which got everybody excited, but then nothing got solved except for few easy stuff. From where we are, like last 2 years, the people say, okay, I get all the stuff. Like you need a system integrator to do custom stuff. You need a platform. Okay, it's still not solving my problem, like at the cost level I need. That's where one thing is. The other thing is, most of the companies now have done enterprise level solutions. So they all have ERPs and MESs. So they said, okay, we are now good on planning. Now the frontier is the people who are actually working, the process getting done. I can use some technology to get data out. I can borrow something from the IT world to do big data analytics. Conceptually, it looks like we have everything, but why is it not working? And so for me, that right now, the challenge that I faced in the last 2 years at Siemens and at Hitachi is to take those generic platforms to convert a user level solution, a persona-based solution. A maintenance manager on a motor needs a solution.
Yes.
And what will that take me to work? And that is what my challenge is, because that is the frontier of digital transformation for manufacturing right now.
You got to be solving problems, right? There's still the problems still exist, and how do you link that digital solution in solving true problems? Okay. I love it, and I love the fact that when we start talking about it, you brought up a really good point, and I want to make sure the listeners hear about it. There's still a cost element to it, right? And you still got to do that. Do I get an ROI on it? You got to balance it out. And so the only way you're really going to get to that point is that you've got to have that history of success, demonstration of the ability to be able to do that, and then be able to, with confidence and with trust, be able to say, that's right, the value is there, let's deploy it, and I feel comfortable. And that's like you said, the new frontier. You got to be able to do that. And boy, there still are. There's a ton of companies out there that are just saying, yeah, we could do it. It's going to save you $1 gazillion, but it's going to cost you $1.5 gazillion. Those things. Because the new normal, whatever that normal looks like, my concern, Sid, take away my concern, that's your responsibility. But my concern is once all of this stuff passes and we start feeling more comfortable with that next normal, whatever it looks like, I don't know, it's not business as usual, can't be business as usual. So whatever that next normal is, then we're going to take our eye off the ball. We decided that we wanted to go to this digital journey, and then we take the eye off the ball, and then we go back to what sort of a quasi digital manual process. Do you see that? Or do you think companies are going to say, no, I want resiliency and I want to be able to commit to this until that next time? That's the message.
You're right. So it's hard for me to foresee what will happen. But I think the way digital transformation right now is accelerated is mostly to allow the work to go on, allow remote monitoring to happen, and allow safe working place to be created. I mean, we are not able to produce the same level of productivity we had before because the whole last 40 years was let's put everything close to each other so that there is minimum time wasted.
Yeah.
But now everybody's so close to each other and COVID says, okay, you cannot be close to each other. So what we have done is we've reduced the number of people, hence we have reduced productivity and output. A little bit of digital is helping, but what I foresee in the future is every process, right now we don't have the luxury because of safety to do that, but every process will have to go through that return on investment versus concept, like return on capital invested, because not every process will need digitization. Not everything needs predictive maintenance because I mean there are other ways to design a process, correct? Like so, means if a motor can fail and motor is $100, put 3 motors there in parallel path. So one fails, the other one picks up. I mean, so you don't actually have to invest. So that's basically where we will be. We'll be looking at each process and saying which is the most critical failure mode or output, and what does it cost me to do digital on it. And a lot of that other stuff below the radar will be left as is. And also the other side is human dexterity and training is much faster and cheaper than you can actually program it. So if you do new things and you need people to do like a little bit of AI in their head rather than you program it, that part will always be there. And our computer systems are not as good as a human yet, especially without too much training. So I see that is happening from technology side, ROI, and human dexterity and ingenious like that. I mean, humans can feel and see things that a computer will never know.
Absolutely. You're absolutely spot on. So don't, listeners out there, don't be concerned about this digital journey, this digital transformation and changes within whatever the future looks like. There is always going to be room and the need for people. They're just different skill levels, different, all of that. There's always going to be that need. Now, we're going to have to wrap it up. Are you active out on LinkedIn? Is that a good way to get a hold of you?
I am, yeah. LinkedIn is my only social media thing that I am active on.
It is.
And I like it.
Yeah, I do too. That's a free promo to LinkedIn right there. I like it too. Now, listeners, let's just sort of wrap it up just real quick here. I think a couple of key takeaways. Continuous innovation journey. If you're in manufacturing, if you're listening to this, you've got to just embrace that continuous innovation journey. The other thing, you need to look, if you're saying, hey, I'm interested in this digital transformation journey, and I think it's important to us, you need to find a company that has that history of success, real success, that can really help you in this journey. And I think the last point is that there are a lot of people out there talking and somewhat walking the walk of IoT and digital transformation. My recommendation is that you just go right to Sid and just get it right from him and Hitachi Vantara, because they're doing great things out there. All right, Sid, we got to wrap it up. Thank you very much for joining the Industrial Talk podcast. We're celebrating heroes of manufacturing on this one. We didn't really hit too much on that, but you're a hero.
Thank you, Scott. I think you are too, for promoting this kind of messaging. So I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, listeners, we're going to wrap it up on the other side. You're going to have everything that you need at industrialtalk.com. Stay tuned.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
Well, thank you very much for joining the Industrial Talk podcast. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Sid Verma. I know I did. I am just an absolute junkie when it comes to this stuff. I like to consume as much as I can because you know why? It's because I want to collaborate. I want to innovate. I want to educate. And I want to do it with a sense of speed and tenacity. That's what I want you to do. You got to reach out to Sid. Go out to his stat card on LinkedIn. And again, it's SIDDHARTH, Verma, VERMA. Reach out. I guarantee you he wants to talk to you. And he's got solutions for your pain. Yeah, I'm definitely. All right, here's the challenge. Hang out with people who are bold, brave, and dare greatly. And I guarantee you your world and your vision of this world will change in a positive way. All right, you be bold, you be brave, you dare greatly. Let's change the world together. Thank you again for joining the Industrial Talk podcast. We're going to be back with another great interview shortly.